Hi guys, welcome back, and today I'll be doing the next part for what if the Z Fighters had trained with Goku. Now last time we left off with the Hope of the Future giving the group a warning and giving Goku the heart medicine, then leaving. But before we get into too much more detail, I want to cover something I forgot to mention in the last part. This is to do with Krillin. During the 2 years of Earth's peace, Krillin actually wished Princess Snake to Earth and revived her. And after this happened, the two began dating, with Snake getting used to life on Earth, with her living with Krillin at Roshi's. However, the two do have plans of moving into a city together, but for now it's just very early on in this relationship. Now, if we get back with the group, after Trunks had left, everyone gets to talking about their plans, with Vegeta talking up and explaining how he and Nappa will be achieving the Super Saiyan form, then stating how the elites will overtake the likes of the low-class warriors such as Goku and his stupid brother, with him only bringing up Raditz just to sort of put a jab in. But in a weird way, this wasn't meant as an aggressive way. It meant more of a banterful way. You see here, Vegeta and Goku have a fair bit amount of respect for one another, with Vegeta being a bit more relaxed, and also after seeing Goku achieve the Super Saiyan form, he sort of doesn't hate him too much. He sees him to be the legend. And Nappa, wanting to get to training right away, shouts out to Gohan, the person who he has taken on as a student, to also achieve the form. He will not let anyone with the likes of Gohan's potential not become as strong as possible, explaining how he will come to visit him to make sure he is training hard, while smiling at the young Saiyan, with Gohan shouting out promising to his very strange master that he will keep training, with both of the Saiyans flying off towards Capsule Corp. Now, the remaining Z-Fighters stand around talking about how they will be training, but in amongst this conversation, everyone notices that someone's very quiet, someone who's not normally this quiet. Everyone looks over to Goku, who seems to be deep in thought, with Krillin asking what's up with Goku, snapping him out of his trance. Goku, catching a moment to think about if he wants to say this, soon begins to talk, explaining how he wants to bring back his brother, pretty much shocking the whole group. However, Goku goes on to explain how he wanted to bring him back years ago, but he had been so caught up in everything that he never really got the chance. And on top of this, it wouldn't be a bad idea to have the extra firepower. His brother seemed like a good guy, and he wants to give him a second chance like they did for Vegeta and Nappa. Hearing this, both Krillin and Yamcha like this idea. They have pretty decent memories of training that 1 week with Raditz. The only issue they really had with him was he's a bit rude and a bit of a dick, but other than that, he's alright. Gohan had only briefly interacted with his uncle, but remembers him to be rude, and Gohan isn't as sure as both Krillin and Yamcha are. And Tien had never met the Saiyan, but remembers feeling his ki and being slightly scared of it. However, if his friends think it's a good idea to bring him back, he will go along with it. However, he does explain how he won't be helping them wish him back. He wants to get to training, and his way of training is going to be a bit different. So he begins to fly off in the direction towards Kami. Confusing the group, everyone just sort of decides to start collecting the Dragon Balls. Now, these fighters only take a small amount of time to collect all of them, and then they summon the dragon, wording the wish in a way which will allow them to not only bring the Saiyan back to life, but also bring him to Earth, with Shenron granting this before scattering around the world. Now, the wish did work. Luckily, they phrased it very well, and this meant everything went how they wanted it to. Now, after Raditz arrives, he looks confused, and honestly, he's still kind of scared from the battle he remembers to be his last moments years ago, between himself, Nappa, and Vegeta. And he sees his brother, who walks up saying hi, which relaxes Raditz quite a bit. Even though he's not fully good, he's quite a decent person here, so he's let down his guard almost immediately. And once the two brothers get to talking, Goku catches him up really fast. With Raditz learning about the battle between the Z-Fighters and the Saiyans, the Z-Fighters and Frieza, and now this upcoming battle with the androids. Taking all of this in, Raditz does want to help his younger brother. However, he's sort of angry at the moment. He's just learnt the fact that the people who killed him, the people who picked on him, the people who put him below dirt itself are still alive. And on top of that, his brother let them live. And in his rage, Raditz shouts out at his brother, trying to get some answers out of him. However, Goku sort of doesn't answer correctly. Goku, being very naive, didn't really think about how to phrase it. He just sort of blurted out how they were strong and he would have loved to fight them again. But on top of that, we also needed the help to bring back one of our friends. It was kind of an good situation. So he just went with whatever he got, and luckily it led to both Nappa and Vegeta turning into someone that's good. But Raditz isn't too happy with this explanation, and in his rage, he throws a punch towards his brother. But Goku just sort of takes the attack, not even moving really, just explaining to his younger brother how he's sorry, but he wished he has brought him back earlier. His life has just been so hectic at the moment, he hadn't really had the chance. After the battle with Frieza, he had to get an understanding of the Super Saiyan form, and during all that training, he just sort of lost track of time. His wife is currently pregnant with another kid, and he's also trying to keep an eye on both Vegeta and Nappa. He's not really had a lot of free time, but now he's brought his brother back, he hopes that he can, settle down and live a peaceful life on Earth. After hearing this, Raditz does see that Goku is truthfully sorry, and he means what he says. And he pulls his hand away from his brother, accepting the apology, with both brothers apologising to one another and sort of having a moment where they bond a little bit. Raditz, after a few seconds, does explain how he's not going to be forgiving the likes of Vegeta or Nappa very easily, with Goku accepting this, and all members present leave the area, heading towards Goku's house. They all begin to train with one another, with Goku spending a lot of time with Raditz trying to catch him up to speed, and teaching Gohan and Raditz the Super Saiyan form, while Krillin and Yamcha train with the three Saiyans and also with one another, trying to get a better understanding of the Kaioken. Now, 4 months had passed since the revival of Raditz, and the Saiyan had grown stronger. He's on the edge of learning Super Saiyan. However, he has some more ground to gain before he can even catch up with the likes of Goku, Vegeta and Nappa. However, he can probably hold his own in a fight against the humans, but unfortunately, today wasn't a day where Raditz gets to choose his opponent. You see, after 4 months, Nappa had finally kept his word and is actually coming to see Gohan's progress, and also he wants to catch up with the likes of Tien, who he believes to be here. However, he doesn't know Raditz is here. Keep in mind, Raditz's energy was significantly low when it first appeared, and yeah, Vegeta and Nappa can sense energy, but they probably brushed it off very easily. Keep in mind that they do know it's, Raditz, but they also might just brush it off, like I said, because it's so weak. They probably didn't even really take note of it. So, Nappa has showed up, expecting to be looking at Tien, Gohan, Goku, Krillin, Yamcha, all the people that he sort of likes. And when he arrives, he's actually looking for his student, shouting out for him. Gohan does run out, trying to greet his master. However, Nappa gets very fastly distracted when he catches the likes of Raditz sparring with Goku. Nappa, in a state of shock, actually shouts out to the other Saiyan in quite a friendly way. But Raditz, seeing who it is, he ignores it. He continues his fight, with Goku and Raditz being caught up in a clash at the moment. However, this doesn't sit well with Nappa. Nappa goes from the very friendly shout that he just did to a bit more of an aggressive one, with Nappa shouting out again. But this time, Raditz does hear it, and it's very clear he did hear it. But he stops his fight, explaining to Goku that he'll be heading into the house to use the bathroom, and to just let me know when he's gone. With Goku being a bit confused, he heads towards Nappa to greet each other. However, Nappa isn't too interested in this right now, with Nappa walking up, quite insistent, grabbing Raditz by the shoulder, pulling him back out of the house quickly. He then tries to ask some questions, trying to catch up with Raditz, almost as if he's trying to make amends for everything that happened. However, Raditz just tries to ignore the brute again, and starts walking into the house, just trying to keep to his own. But this time, Nappa's much calmer and nicer and goofier personality finally snaps, and he shouts out how Raditz is still a weak coward and is running away from this. However, this does strike a nerve with Raditz. He doesn't want to be a coward, and he's not weak anymore. He remembers how strong Nappa is, and he knows there's a big difference between them. However, Raditz turns around, using the full force of his punch to hit Nappa. With this attack clearly surprising Nappa, it actually brushes him backwards against the floor, with Raditz holding his fist out where he landed the punch, sort of just realising what he did. Nappa, sort of in a state of shock, looks over to Raditz, who is clearly a lot stronger, but nowhere near enough to fight him as he is right now. With Raditz even knowing this himself, still walks up to Nappa getting ready to fight. His body is shaking, but he's angry, and his anger got him into this fight, so he's ready to stand his ground. Raditz is so scared. Remember, he lost to Nappa years ago. Nappa murdered him. But right now, Nappa isn't the same person he used to be. The influence of Gohan, Goku, and even the other Z fighters has really rubbed off on him, and he is now a much nicer person. Nappa goes on to explain how he has no interest in fighting a weakling like Raditz. There's too big of a difference for it even to be considered a workout. Maybe when Raditz becomes a Super Saiyan, with Nappa charging up to his Super Saiyan state, shocking everyone around. Even the likes of Goku wasn't expecting Nappa to show it off. He explains how the day he achieves this form, maybe there'll be a chance he could beat him in a fight, but until then, he's just small fry, before flying off, explaining how he'll come back to visit them another day when Raditz is in a better mood. Now, this is a really weird display for everyone. Raditz at first is scared, but then really motivated, and he begins to start training much harder, and after a few more months he unlocks the Super Saiyan form. Now, alongside him, Gohan also achieves the Super Saiyan form. There's too big of a difference for it even to be considered a workout. Maybe when Raditz becomes a Super Saiyan, with Nappa charging up to his Super Saiyan state, shocking everyone around. Even the likes of Goku wasn't expecting Nappa to show it off. He explains how the day he achieves this form, maybe there'll be a chance he could beat him in a fight, but until then, he's just small fry, before flying off, explaining how he'll come back to visit them another day when Raditz is in a better mood. Now, this is a really weird display for everyone. Raditz at first is scared, but then really motivated, and he begins to start training much harder, and after a few more months he unlocks the Super Saiyan form. Now, alongside him, Gohan also achieves the Super Saiyan form. And some side notes I want to mention about the group that was training at Goku's house is, Goten was born during this time, with Raditz actually noticing a similarity between Goten and his father. He tries to get Chi-Chi and Goku to name the boy Bardock, in honour of their late father, with him explaining this to Goku. However, they do choose to stay with Goten. But if he was to have a middle name, I don't really know how it works out in Japan. It's probably Bardock, just for Raditz's sake. Another thing, Snake and Krillin get married during this time, which everyone had spent time celebrating with, except the likes of Vegeta and Nappa, who spend a day training, but Bulma shows up with the baby Trunks. And one more thing, I believe Goku probably found the second grade of Super Saiyan. It was probably later on into the training, but he definitely found it after both Gohan and Raditz had unlocked the Super Saiyan form. But out of this 3 Saiyans, it's probably only Goku who found it right now. Now I've covered the group that was training with Goku and around Goku's house, I want to cover another group. Let's jump back 3 years to cover Vegeta and Nappa's last 3 years of training, but I'll be honest, there isn't too much to cover. Both had spent most of their time training in the gravity chamber, both had achieved the Super Saiyan form, but also both had ascended to the second grade of the Super Saiyan form. Thanks to this, they both have a new understanding of how Super Saiyan works, and much like Goku did, they both want to try and master the form, just so it's not as draining on their bodies. Now, this probably happened quite later on, much like what happened with Goku. The only other thing really of note about these two is the fact that Kid Trunks was born, and like normal, Vegeta isn't too interested. He is excited to have a son and the Saiyan lineage is going on, and he will be training him when he gets older, but like normal, Vegeta doesn't take too much interest. On the other side of the scale though, we see Nappa. He loves the hell out of this kid. Keep in mind, he sees Kid Trunks much like he did see Gohan near the start, with him being the future of the Saiyans and whatnot. And he wants to train and, mould this hybrid Saiyan into the perfect Saiyan, with him often offering to babysit the child. And when Vegeta and Bulma aren't looking, he will try and sneak him into the gravity chamber to get some light training in while he's young, get him used to gravity. And a lot of the time he is stopped by Bulma, and even Vegeta stopped him a few times. Nappa has very much taken a role of a very weird uncle, but for the most part he's a very good person, and the last few years for these two have been very tame, with the two Saiyans loving Earth life but not admitting it. Now, for the final person I want to cover is Tien. And after the revival of Raditz, he had headed towards Kami's to ask for a favour. Tien wanted to ask Kami if he could go to Otherworld, much like Krillin and Goku had done, to learn some techniques and also grow stronger. With Kami being a bit caught off guard, he does explain how he will need to get permission to, be taken to Otherworld, but he will try. And after a few hours, Kami does manage to make King Yama allow Tien to go to Otherworld. With the three-eyed warrior training under King Kai, like all his friends had done, he's not only there to train, but he also spends a lot of his free time there. He's probably left Chaozu with the likes of Master Roshi. Even though he's not a child, he always wants to make sure Chaozu has someone around him. And Tien, for the most part, really enjoys this training. Not only is the gravity here a bit of an increase compared to Earth gravity, but there's so many dead warriors around. If he wants to go and learn a technique, he just has to explore a little bit. On top of learning the Kaioken, Tien had learnt some other techniques. Even though he does spend a lot of time in Otherworld, he does come back every now and again, just to spend a few days, let's say maybe a day or two every month or so, and he always goes to check up on his friends. And when he caught wind of Krillin and Snake's wedding, he did come back to celebrate, and he just had a very good time catching up with everyone, and everyone is very impressed with his growth. Now, the day of the android attack, the group stands by, ready, watching over the city, waiting for something to happen. And the beginning of this arc sort of goes how it normally would. Well, it's a very short bit I'm jumping forward, because I'm jumping forward to when Yamcha finds the androids. You see, Yamcha here is a lot more confident. He's much stronger, he's done more in the series as a whole, so he's willing to ask a few questions, being ready in a battle stance. And he does get a few questions in, learning a little bit, but not much. And then when the fight is about to break out, Yamcha raises his power as much as he possibly can in one burst to let everyone know where he is, with this making Dr. Gero jump at the bandit. However, Yamcha isn't a coward, and he flares up to his Kaioken times 20 and countered the Doctor's attack. The only reason he managed to do this is because Dr. Gero underestimated how strong Yamcha would be, and he also didn't predict him to have the Kaioken. So luckily this led to the bandit surviving. And the other Z fighters are arriving now. It is beginning to look a bit better for the group. However, much like normal, Dr. Gero threatens to destroy the city, so they head off to a new area to find a wasteland where no one will be hurt. But since Piccolo isn't around to take them to one, the one they find here is not as nice as the one they found in canon. Now, the fight between 19 and Goku here goes very much like it did in canon, up until Goku's Kamehameha. You see, Goku is starting to feel the heart virus effects very heavily, and he buffs up to his grade 2 state in the Super Saiyan form, which he found much like Vegeta and Nappa, with Vegeta and Nappa actually seeing this and sort of being annoyed that Goku also found it, but also sort of impressed. Now, when he shoots the Kamehameha, much like normal, the android absorbs it, and now Goku is feeling the full effects of the heart virus, and he's pretty much unable to fight. He's on the ground in pain, with Gohan stepping up to take him home, but this means someone else has to step down to fight the android. And I want to ask people who they want to see fight. I know this is sort of a weird place to end it, but I just need to explain some things. Now, if the editing for this part is bad, and heck, my voice work isn't the best, or even if the video's, well, it's not too short, to be honest, it's quite long, I'm sorry, but it's because last night I was sat there realising I wasn't happy with this part. So I stayed up until about 1 finishing a new script, Everything else that's done, the editing, the voice work, I've pretty much done all in this morning. When I'm doing the voice work now, I haven't started any of the editing, but it's currently 6 o'clock, so I have a lot of time to do it before I need to upload. I do apologise for this, but I just wanted to change it. I remember sitting there thinking how I was happy with it, but I think just something I happened to be watching really made me realise that my what ifs aren't that great. And if I'm even slightly not too happy with something, I want to spend time changing it. So sometimes if a video doesn't come out on time, or if it doesn't come out on the right day, it will be because I've looked over the what if again and I'm not happy with it. I want to try and do some more interesting things, because my video quality compared to some other big what if YouTubers is kind of terrible, and I would love to do anything half as decent as any of them. But yeah, for the most part, I'm much happier with this part now. And even though I didn't cover a lot, I'm happier with it. I tried something different at the start where I go into a lot more detail about how everything went. And I hope people liked it. I quite enjoyed it. It made the video a bit funner for me. But I only did a small part of it in this video just to see if I can cover the beginning of the Android saga at the bare minimum. But I don't know. If there's anything people would like to give me ideas about, please let me know. But like I asked a minute ago, who should fight the androids? And alongside that, I have one more thing to say. I have let the humans keep up with the Saiyans here a bit more than I normally would. This what if is meant to be about the humans. The fact that the Saiyans are around is just a side effect that the humans are stronger. So for most of this what if, the humans will be keeping up as much as I possibly think is possible. And I hope people are okay with this. But like always, have a great day or a good night, and I'll see you next time.